The galaxy was breaking apart. One world after another fell to the enemy. A silent fear spread through every council chamber, through every space station, through every ship still standing. No one dared to speak of hope anymore, because hope was gone. In the grand hall of the Galactic Council, leaders of many species sat in silence. Their faces showed despair, their eyes filled with fear. The glowing map before them showed red across the stars, red for every planet lost. The red spread like fire, consuming everything. A frail councillor finally spoke, his voice shaking. "We have no more fleets," he said. "Our defenses are destroyed, our armies are gone. The end is near." His words were heavy like stones falling into dark water. The chamber echoed with whispers. "The end, the end," another voice rose, sharp and bitter. "Where are the humans?" The speaker demanded. His scaled hands slammed the table. They were strong ones. They swore to fight for the galaxy. Yet they vanished when we needed them most. They left us. The chamber fell into a heavy silence. Everyone had thought the same. Humanity had been the great power, the wild warriors, the ones who fought harder than any species. But centuries ago they vanished. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others said they fled into the dark. Either way, they were gone. And now the galaxy was falling without them. From the shadows of the chamber, an old elder rose. His voice was low, but it carried across the room. "Do you not remember the stories?" he asked. "Do you not remember what they promised before they disappeared? They said, when the galaxy cries in silence, when all hope is lost, we will return." The younger councillors laughed bitterly. "Legends," one spat. "Fairy tales for children. Humans are not coming back. They abandoned us." But the elder's eyes did not waver. "And yet the silence grows louder," he whispered. "Perhaps they hear it now, far from the council hall." Across the shattered sectors, survivors spoke in hushed tones. Refugees whispered stories to their children as they huddled in ruined shelters. "Humans will come back," they said. "Humans will save us," the children asked. "When?" And no one had an answer. The words became only comfort, like a prayer in the dark on a broken world near the galactic rim. Soldiers fought their last stand. The enemy came like a wave of fire, unstoppable and merciless. An alien captain shouted to his men, "Hold the line," though his voice cracked with fear. His soldiers fired until their weapons burned, but the sky was full of enemy ships, black and endless. He looked up and whispered, "If only the humans were here." As the battle turned to slaughter, the captain's radio crackled. A voice, old and broken, whispered through the static, "Stand! Hold your ground." The captain froze. He shouted, "Who is this?" "Identify yourself." But the voice only repeated, "Hold your ground." Then the signal died. The soldiers looked at each other. "A trick," one said. "The enemy plays with us." But the captain shook his head. His heart raced. There was something in that voice, something he remembered from the old records. The tone, the command, it was human across the stars. Strange signals began to appear, deep pulses, old codes, hidden messages long thought lost. Stations reported bursts of static that formed into words. Not alien words, but human. "We hear you," the signal said. "We are coming." In the council chamber, alarms rang. A technician rushed in with a trembling report. "We are detecting transmissions," he said. His hands shook as he placed the data on the table. "The codes are ancient, but they are human." The chamber exploded into voices. Some shouted in disbelief, some in anger, some in hope. "Impossible," cried one. "They are gone." But another leaned forward, his eyes wide. "If the codes are real, then humanity has returned." The elder smiled faintly. "The silence was the call," he whispered, "and they have answered." That night, across many worlds, survivors looked to the sky, hoping to see something. "Anything in the ruins," children whispered. "The humans are coming." In the stations, soldiers reloaded their weapons, ready for another fight, and in the council hall, the leaders argued until dawn, fear fighting against hope. But somewhere in the deep cold of space, a shadow stirred. Engines that had been silent for centuries roared to life. Ships long hidden in the dark rose like giants. Their hulls bore the mark of Earth. The stars reflected off their steel as they moved toward the broken galaxy. Silent and unstoppable, the enemy, vast and merciless, did not know yet. They laughed, believing the galaxy was theirs. They believed the last flames of resistance were almost gone. But in the void, the humans had awakened. The end was near, but not for the galaxy. It was near for the enemy. And when the first human warship broke through the darkness, the galaxy would remember what it meant to hope again. The first whispers of the signals spread like fire across the galaxy. Outposts reported them in secret, frightened that speaking too loudly would break the fragile hope they carried. In hidden bunkers and ruined cities, refugees huddled close to hear the news. Some laughed, saying it was only static. Others wept, whispering the old name of the humans on the council world. The leaders sat in tense silence as the technicians replayed the recordings. The sound was faint, broken by static, but the words were clear enough. "We hear you," a human voice said. "We are coming." The chamber erupted. One councillor shouted, "It is a trick," slamming his fist against the table. "The enemy plays games with us. They want us to believe help is near, so we will not fight. It is nothing but lies." Another councillor leaned forward, her eyes wide. "No, these codes are old, too old for the enemy to know. They are from Earth, from the time before the humans vanished." The elder who had spoken before rose again. His face was calm, though his hands trembled. "I told you," he said softly. "The silence was the call. And they have answered." His words echoed across the chamber, but many refused to believe. Meanwhile, in the dark reaches of the Rim, an alien captain who had survived the last massacre stared at his broken radio. He had heard the voice himself. He remembered the way it had cut through the chaos, strong and commanding. He whispered to his soldiers, "That was no lie, that was human." His men looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. "If they return," one said, "the galaxy may yet live." But even hope carried danger. The enemy, vast and merciless, had spies everywhere. Soon they too learned of the signals. Their commanders met in secret halls lit with cold fire. One of them hissed, "If the humans rise again, we must crush them before they reach the stars. We will burn whatever remains of their kind. We will make the galaxy fear us more than they ever feared Earth." In hidden stations near collapsed suns, survivors searched for more signs. Old archives were opened, filled with records of human battles. Their war cries echoed through ancient files, their victories written in history. A young technician whispered, "If they are truly back, the enemy will know fear." His commander shook his head. "We must not trust too soon. We have been fooled before." But even as he spoke, his eyes betrayed a flicker of hope. The council called for another meeting. This time the hall was filled not with despair, but with heated argument. One shouted, "If the humans return, they will not save us. They will only rule us. They were too strong even in the past." Another answered, "Let them rule if it means survival. I would rather kneel to humans than die to the enemy." Voices clashed, fear against hope, anger against belief. And then, without warning, a new signal broke through. Louder and clearer than before, every channel across the stars lit up with the same voice. "We are not gone," it said. "We stand ready." Gasps filled every chamber. Even the most doubtful councillors could not hide their shock. Across the galaxy, survivors listened on a ruined planet. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve. "What does it mean?" she asked. The mother whispered with trembling lips, "It means they are coming back." On a drifting station, soldiers cheered, slamming their fists against steel walls. "Humans," they cried. "The humans are not dead." But not everyone rejoiced. The enemy, furious and afraid, launched raids on the outer systems. They struck faster and harder, desperate to finish the war before the humans could arrive. Worlds already broken were destroyed completely. Stars burned with fire as millions died. Yet the survivors did not weep this time. They clenched their fists and whispered, "Hold on, the humans are coming." In the hidden depths of the void, far from the enemy's eyes, something stirred. Massive engines, long silent, began to glow. Old ships, scarred but alive, moved slowly from their shelters. They had slept for centuries, waiting. Now they moved as if the universe itself had called them. Each bore the ancient mark of Earth. Inside one of the ships, soldiers in black armor stood from their cryo beds, their eyes open to the glow of battle alarms. A voice filled the chamber, strong and commanding. The galaxy cries for help. We answer. Prepare the fleet. The soldiers spoke in unison. Yes, Commander. Their voices echoed like thunder. The first warship turned its hull toward the stars. Its engines roared. The void itself seemed to tremble. Slowly others followed, dozens, then hundreds. A fleet unlike any seen in centuries was rising. Humanity had not vanished. They had only waited. Back in the council chamber, the technicians screamed, "New contacts on long-range scans." Leaders rushed to the glowing map. Their jaws dropped as icons filled the screen. Not enemy ships this time, but something different, shapes long believed lost. Massive warships of human design. Their signals blazed across every frequency, bold and clear. "We are here." The chamber fell into silence. Some leaders sank into their chairs. "Overcome," others shouted with joy. One simply whispered, "The legends were true." The elder closed his eyes, tears slipping down his wrinkled face. "The end was near," he murmured. "But the humans have returned. Across the galaxy, survivors lifted their heads. Children pointed at the skies. Soldiers gripped their weapons. Fear did not vanish. But for the first time in centuries, it was joined by something greater, hope and far beyond, where the human fleet stretched into the dark. Their commanders watched the map of the galaxy fill with red. They spoke only one command: "Prepare for war." The void trembled as the first human warship stepped out of the dark. It was massive, its black steel reflecting the distant starlight. For centuries, the galaxy had whispered of human strength, but no one alive had truly seen it. Now they watched with wide eyes as one ship after another emerged, silent giants waking from a long sleep in a hidden outpost. An alien soldier pressed his face to the glass. His voice cracked. "By the stars," he whispered, "they are real." Around him his squad froze. Their weapons forgotten, none dared to speak louder, afraid that even words might break the miracle before their eyes. Across the council chamber, alarms rang as the screens filled with new icons. The technician shouted, his voice trembling, "It is them! They carry Earth codes! They are human ships!" Leaders surged to their feet. Their voices crashed over each other. "Impossible!" one screamed. "They cannot be this strong." Another gripped the edge of the table, his claws trembling. They said they would return. The elder who had warned them before stood slowly. His eyes shone with tears. "Do you see now?" he said. "This is no legend. Humanity has risen. Far away, the enemy fleets received the same signals. Their commanders snarled. The largest among them hissed. So the ghosts return. Let them. We will crush them as we have crushed all the others." He turned to his lieutenants, his voice like venom. "Send a fleet, meet them before they reach the galaxy. Burn them where they rise." And so the first test came. In the cold void, the enemy fleet appeared. Hundreds of warships with black sails and burning red engines. They surrounded the sector like a cage. The human ships did not move at first. They floated in silence, their lights dim, waiting. On one of the human flagships, a commander stood on the bridge. His face was calm. His officers watched him with steady eyes. "The galaxy believes us gone," one said quietly. "The enemy believes we are weak." The commander looked out at the stars, his voice low but hard. "Then let us remind them who we are." The order was given, and in an instant the silent giants awoke. Weapons flared to life. Beams of pure light cut across the void. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Entire enemy formations vanished in seconds. What had taken centuries of galactic resistance to fail, humans shattered in one strike. In the council chamber, the screens lit up with live feeds. Leaders gasped as enemy icons blinked out one after another. One counselor whispered in awe, "They fight as if death itself bends before them." Another shook his head in disbelief. How? How can such power still exist? On broken worlds where survivors hid, people cheered. Children lifted their hands toward the sky. "They came back," they cried. Soldiers pounded their weapons against walls, their voices rising in unison. "Humans! Humans, but the battle was not done. The enemy fought back, hurling their ships in furious waves. They poured fire into the void, explosions rippling across space. For a moment the galaxy held its breath. Could even the humans endure such a storm? On the flagship, alarms screamed as enemy fire tore through the void. An officer shouted, "Shields at 80%. Another warned, "Missile swarm incoming." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Hold formation," he ordered. His voice cut through the chaos like steel. "We do not break," the human fleet answered with brutal precision. Lines of fire cut across the void. Enemy ships broke apart like sand before a storm. In minutes, the once mighty armada was scattered. Wreckage floated in silence. The humans had not only survived, they had crushed their foes. Across the galaxy, silence followed. Then a roar of hope. Stations erupted in cheers. Worlds lit fires of celebration. Even the council chamber shook with cries. The same councillors who had doubted now shouted, "The humans have returned. The humans are here." But in the enemy halls, fury burned. Commanders slammed their fists against stone tables. "They dare defy us," one growled. "Then we will bring the full weight of our empire. We will not stop until every trace of them is ash." Yet beneath their rage, a shadow of fear spread for the first time in centuries. They had met an enemy they could not easily destroy. Back on the flagship, the commander stood silent as the wreckage drifted past. His officers looked at him, waiting. One finally asked, "Shall we announce our return to the council?" The commander shook his head. His voice was calm. "Not yet, let them wait. Let the enemy fear first." But even in secrecy, word spread. Survivors carried the stories. "I saw them with my own eyes," one refugee cried. "Black ships larger than any. They cut the enemy apart like paper," another whispered. "They are not like before, they are stronger. They are unstoppable." In the council, the elder closed his eyes, his voice a soft prayer. The end was near, but the humans returned. His words carried into every chamber, and the galaxy listened for the first time in centuries. They believed the tide could turn. Far beyond, in the hidden dark, more ships stirred. The fleet was not yet whole. Humanity's return was only beginning. And as the enemy gathered their forces, the humans prepared for the war that would decide the fate of every star. The void itself seemed to whisper. The silence was gone. In its place came the roar of steel. The humans were back. The galaxy had seen battles before, but never like this. Reports spread faster than light. Stories of human warships tearing through enemy fleets as if they were nothing. Entire planets that had prepared for their final hours now looked to the sky with new hope. Soldiers who had been ready to die now whispered a single word with fire in their voices. "Humans!" In the council chamber, the leaders stared at the giant map of the stars, where the red that marked enemy forces was slowly shrinking. The technicians spoke quickly. "Human fleets have engaged in 3 sectors. All enemy forces destroyed in minutes, survivors rescued." The chamber filled with gasps. One counselor stood, his voice shaking. "Do you see what this means? The humans have not only returned, they are winning. They can do what we could not." Another counselor leaned forward, his eyes narrow. "Or they will use this power to rule us all." Murmurs spread, fear mixing with hope. The elder raised his hand, his voice calm but firm. "You fear chains, but do you not see? The chains of the enemy are already around our necks. Would you rather die free than live under humans?" "I say I would live, and I would fight with them." His words carried through the chamber, breaking the silence while the council argued. The enemy prepared in their dark halls, their commanders gathered around a burning map. "The humans strike fast," one growled, "but they are still flesh. They can still bleed." Another slammed his claws into the table. "We will burn their fleet. We will make the galaxy watch as they fall again." Yet none could hide the edge of fear in their voices. On the rim of the galaxy, the war raged. A planet under siege burned as enemy forces rained fire on its cities. The survivors huddled in the ruins, waiting for death. A young child asked her father, "Will it hurt?" The father held her close, tears in his eyes. "No, it will be quick," he lied. Then the sky changed. Shadows fell over the battlefield as giant ships pierced the clouds. Their engines thundered like storms. Their cannons lit the air with fire. The enemy turned upward in shock as the human fleet descended. In moments, the attackers were torn apart. The survivors below watched as the black warships destroyed the armada with terrifying speed. The father stared in awe, whispering, "It's them." The humans, the radio crackled alive as a human voice filled every channel. Strong and clear, this world is safe. Stand strong. You are not alone. Refugees wept. Soldiers dropped to their knees. The word spread again across every star. They saved us. On the flagship, the commander listened to the reports. An officer said, "The council demands contact. They beg for alliance," another added. "The enemy gathers more fleets, larger than before. They are desperate." The commander stood silent for a moment, then said, "Let the enemy come, let them bring all they have. We will show them what humanity has become." But there were shadows, even in victory. Some counselors whispered in secret, "If the humans defeat the enemy, what then? Will they leave again? Or will they claim the galaxy as their own?" Others argued, "It does not matter, we owe them everything." The debate raged, but outside their walls the war pressed on. The enemy struck back in fury, sending their greatest fleets to crush the humans. The void shook with the clash. Thousands of ships darkened the stars. For a moment, it seemed even humanity might falter under such fire. Explosions lit the void. Alarms screamed. An officer shouted, "Multiple breaches!" Shields failing, panic rose on the bridge. But the commander's voice cut through like iron. "Hold the line," he said. "Push forward." The human fleet roared back. Beams of light carved through the darkness. Enemy warships shattered one by one. The galaxy watched in awe as the impossible became real. For every human ship lost, dozens of enemy vessels burned. The tide was no longer against them. It was turning. In the council chamber, one counselor gripped his chair, his voice barely a whisper. "They are not just fighting, they are rewriting the war." Another shook his head in disbelief. "They are not the same humans we once knew. They are stronger. They are different on a liberated world." Soldiers cheered as human boots touched the ground. Tall and armored, they moved with confidence. Their leader spoke to the survivors. "The enemy will fall. Stand with us, and you will see the dawn." His words spread faster than fire. Yet the enemy was not broken. In their strongholds they plotted. One commander hissed, "If we cannot kill them in the void, we will strike their heart, find where they rise from, destroy their source." Shadows moved to carry out his order. A secret war had begun, one the humans had not yet seen. On the flagship, the commander studied the star maps. His officers waited for his command. He looked out at the stars, his voice low. "The galaxy believes in us now. The enemy fears us. But this is only the beginning. We will not stop until the last chain is broken. Prepare for the next strike." And so the war raged on, louder and brighter with each battle. The galaxy trembled not with despair now, but with the shockwaves of power. Humanity had returned, and nothing would be the same again. The galaxy had once called it the last stand. It was the place where fleets had gone to die, where armies had fallen one after another. The system was filled with wreckage, broken ships drifting like tombs among the stars. It had been a symbol of despair, a reminder that the enemy could not be stopped. But when the humans arrived, the meaning changed. The human fleet cut through the void with silent power. Their warships moved in perfect formation. Engines glowed like suns. Weapons burned with energy on the flagship. The commander stood at the center of the bridge, his voice calm as iron. "We retake what was lost. We show them the last stand is not the end. It is the beginning." As the human fleet advanced, the enemy gathered. Thousands of their ships poured into the system. Their commanders sneered, believing history would repeat itself. "This is where they die," one hissed. "The humans will drown in fire as the others did." Yet deep in their minds, a shadow of fear lingered, for they had already seen what humans could do. The battle began with a roar. The void shook as fire lit the stars. Enemy ships swarmed like locusts, filling the dark. Missiles streaked toward human lines, beams carved through the shields, explosions rocked the fleet. On the flagship, officers shouted, "Shields at 70%, enemy waves closing," but the commander's voice did not waver. "Hold your ground, advance." The humans did not retreat. They pushed forward, weapons blazed, cutting open enemy formations. Whole squadrons vanished in bursts of light. Human missiles found their targets with brutal accuracy. The wreckage of enemy ships scattered like ashes in a storm. Across the galaxy, every screen lit up with the battle. Refugees, soldiers, children, and counselors watched in silence. Their hearts raced as they saw the impossible. The last stand was no longer a graveyard. It was becoming a battlefield of hope on one broken planet near the system. Survivors huddled in underground tunnels. Listening to the distant thunder of battle through the crust above them, a child whispered, "Will they save us?" The elder beside her smiled faintly. "They already have. Look at the sky when you can, and you will see the enemy, furious at their losses, unleash their strongest weapon, a massive dreadnought the size of a small moon. Its engines glowed red, its cannons powerful enough to split worlds. End them," its commander roared. The dreadnought fired. A beam of destruction shot across space. Slamming into the human fleet, several ships were torn apart. Screams echoed across comms. For a moment, fear returned. On the flagship, alarms blared. An officer cried, "We cannot hold against that. We must retreat." But the commander stood firm, his voice cut through the chaos. "No retreat. If that ship falls, the enemy will break. Focus all fire on the dreadnought," every human ship answered. Beams converged, missiles streaked, cannons thundered. The dreadnought shuddered under the storm. Enemy commanders shouted in disbelief, "Impossible! They cannot!" But before the words could finish, the giant ship erupted. Fire swallowed it, breaking it into fragments. Cheers erupted across the human fleet. Across the galaxy, survivors screamed in joy. Counselors jumped to their feet. Some cried openly. The elder whispered, "Do you see now? The last stand is reversed. It is no longer theirs. It belongs to the humans," but the enemy was not done. Desperate, they sent wave after wave, sacrificing countless ships to stop the humans. Yet every strike only fueled human fury. Every attack only brought more destruction to the enemy. By the time the last wave fell, the system was littered with wreckage. The stars glowed with fire, and the humans stood unbroken on the flagship. Silence filled the bridge after the final blast faded. Officers looked at their commander, their eyes wide with pride and awe. One whispered, "It is over." "We have won!" The commander shook his head, his gaze fixed on the map. "This battle is won, but the war is not. They will come again, stronger. We must be ready." Back in the council chamber, the leaders argued no more. They could only watch the screens in silence. The evidence was clear. The humans had done what no one else could. The last stand, once a tomb, was now a symbol of rebirth. The galaxy no longer whispered of despair. They shouted a new truth: the humans have returned, and the war is changing. On the worlds that had been closest to ruin, people emerged from hiding, looking at the night skies. For the first time in generations, they did not fear the stars. They saw them filled with hope, with fire, with human steel. Children pointed at the lights above, laughing. That is where our heroes are. But even in their victory, the humans knew danger still lurked. In the dark halls of the enemy, their leaders gathered in fury. One slammed his claws against the table. "They shame us," he hissed. "They defy us. They will not stop until we are ash." Another growled, "Then we must strike their heart. We must find their source and end it." The enemy began to move in secret, plotting their deadliest plan yet, unaware that the humans were already preparing for the next step. The war was far from over, but one truth had been written in fire. The last stand was no longer a place of death. It was the first great victory of humanity's return. And as the fleets moved into the dark once more, the galaxy trembled, not in fear but in anticipation. For the humans had turned despair into strength, and the stars would never be the same again. The galaxy was no longer silent. Hope burned across the stars. And everywhere people whispered the same truth. The humans had returned. What was once despair now turned to courage. Yet victory came with a shadow, for the enemy was not broken. They were only enraged. In the hidden halls of their empire, the enemy commanders gathered. Their voices were filled with fury. "The humans shame us," one growled. "They turn our victories into ashes. If we do not end them now, they will rise higher than ever before." Another leaned close, his eyes glowing red. "We will strike their heart. We will find where they came from, and we will burn it." The chamber shook with their vow. Across the galaxy, the council debated endlessly. Some leaders shouted, "We must beg the humans for protection. They are our only hope," others argued. "We cannot bow to them. If they are stronger than the enemy, then what will stop them from ruling us all?" The elder, his voice steady, rose again. "You speak of fear, but fear does not win wars. Look at what they have done already. The end was near. Yet we live. Without them, we would already be dust." On the human flagship, the commander stood before the great star map. Red marks of enemy fleets glowed like wounds across the galaxy. His officers waited, tense but ready. One asked, "Do we reveal ourselves fully now? Do we show the council who commands this fleet?" The commander's gaze did not leave the map. His voice was calm. "Not yet. They do not need our faces, only our fire. Let the enemy know us first. Then the galaxy will follow." The enemy struck without warning. Their forces descended on a border world where survivors had begun to rebuild. Fire rained from the skies. Cities crumbled. The people screamed, believing their hope had ended. But then the dark clouds split open, and human warships poured through. Their cannons thundered, cutting down enemy ships with merciless precision. On the ground, survivors looked up as beams of light tore across the sky. A child shouted, "They came back." A soldier dropped his weapon, falling to his knees. "We are saved." The humans landed, armored soldiers stepping into the ruins. Their leader spoke in a voice like steel. "You are safe now. Stand, fight if you can, but know this. Humanity stands with you." The message spread across every channel, faster than the enemy could silence it. Planets that had once given up on life now raised their banners again. Refugees rallied, soldiers fought with new fire. The galaxy no longer waited for death. It rose to fight beside the humans, but the enemy was cunning. Their spies found traces of human movements. Secret routes through the void, they whispered to their commanders. They come not from Earth, but from somewhere deeper. Hidden in the dark, the enemy swore to find this hidden place, their rage growing with every loss. The humans, too, prepared for the final step. On the flagship, officers reported, "Enemy fleets gather in the core. They are calling everything they have. This will be the greatest battle of all." The commander's eyes narrowed. His voice rang across the bridge. "Then it is time. The galaxy has seen what we can do, but now they will see who we truly are. We will not hide any longer." The fleet moved. Thousands of human ships stretched into the stars, their engines roaring like thunder across the galaxy. Survivors watched in awe as the black steel armada revealed its full might. The council chambers shook with gasps. One councillor cried, "It is not a fleet, it is a storm," another whispered. "How did they build such power in silence?" The enemy met them with fury. Millions of ships darkened the void. The greatest clash in history began. The stars themselves seemed to vanish under the fire. Human ships struck first, unleashing waves of destruction. Enemy formations shattered, yet more poured in. The void burned with endless war. On the flagship, alarms blared. Officers shouted reports. Shields failing on the left flank. Enemy dreadnought approaching fast. The commander's voice cut through. "Calm and unshaken, focus fire, break their core. Do not stop until they fall." The battle raged for hours, each moment carrying the weight of countless lives. Then at last the tide turned. Human fleets broke through, driving deep into enemy lines. Their dreadnoughts fell. Their commanders silenced one by one. The enemy ships erupted into fire until silence spread across the void. The galaxy held its breath, then the message came. A human voice broadcast on every channel. Strong and unyielding, The enemy is broken. The war is over. You are free. Across the stars, cheers rose like thunder. Refugees wept. Soldiers screamed with joy. Children laughed. We are safe. We are safe. In the council chamber, no one argued anymore. They bowed their heads in silence. They knew the truth. Humanity had saved them all. The elder stood tall, his voice steady. Remember this day. Remember who returned when all hope was gone. The end was near, but the humans came back. And the galaxy is theirs to shape. On the flagship, the commander watched the stars. His officers waited for orders. One asked, "What now? Do we rule them?" The commander shook his head slowly. "No, we do not rule. We lead by fire and by choice. The galaxy must rise, not kneel. Our legacy is not chains. It is freedom." His words carried through the ship. And into history, the galaxy had seen its darkest hour. But now a new dawn began. Humanity had returned, not as ghosts or myths, but as saviors. The stars themselves seemed brighter, carrying the whisper of a new truth. The end was near. But the humans had saved the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again.